Welcome back to the MUSB Dugout, everyone. I'm Scott Hall, and today I am joined by the solo member of the class of 2005, Randi Davis, better known to Marshall fans as Randi Nielson. Now, Randi pitched for the Herd from 2002 through 2005, was named MAC Pitcher of the Year in 2003, helped MUSB earn 2 MAC regular season titles, and then came back and coached the Marshall pitchers from 2009 through 2011. Randi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Scott. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. Glad to have you on. Haven't been able to chat with you in a while, so this will be good. But before we get rolling, I just kind of let everyone know what you've been up to since the time when you left Marshall.
Oh gosh. I got my MBA. I played overseas in Europe and Holland, and I coached for 2 years at Marshall and met my husband there. We moved to Auburn, and I continued to give pitching lessons there and worked for a sign company. Then I had my son, so I stopped giving pitching lessons and worked for a little longer, left for Nebraska. And we had our second child there, Harper. I stopped working then when we moved to Nebraska and was a stay-at-home mom. And I've continued to be a stay-at-home mom. We went back to Auburn after 9 months in Nebraska, and I think we were there for maybe 3 years. And now we're in Statesboro, Georgia.
So you've kind of been all over the place. I mean, because you actually started all the way out in Arizona, to Huntington. You go to Holland. You go to Alabama. You go to Nebraska. You go back to Alabama, and now you're in Georgia. So you've been kind of well traveled.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I've liked every place I've gone, so that's a positive.
Well, good. That always helps, obviously, to be able to be good where you are. But okay, so let's step back in time a little bit, all the way back to Tucson, Arizona, back out to the desert. And so when did you start playing softball? And were you playing any other sports with it, or was it always just kind of softball for you?
No, I played soccer. Soccer I started with, I think I was 4, and then softball at 5. I come from a family of 5 siblings, so the older ones were already in sports. So we were always at ballparks. So I think that was easy to, join in, but it was always soccer and softball. People thought I was athletic, so they would try and have me play other sports. They found out real quick I'm not very coordinated. It takes me a bit. So, but yeah, I love soccer and softball.
So when did you start thinking about moving on to college to continue to keep playing?
I think probably sophomore year in high school, probably.
Was softball always the one for you as far as trying to go on to college to keep playing, or was soccer also in there a little bit for you?
No, I actually enjoyed soccer more. But when it came time to make a decision, with club and school ball, I had to choose one sport. I still played the other one in high school, but it was time to make a decision. You can only have so much time, So it ended up being softball. I was better at softball, but I enjoyed soccer. I even asked Shonda if I could play soccer at Marshall, and she said, no, I pay you to get injured on the softball field, not on the soccer field. So, so I didn't even get to try out. I don't even know if I would have made it, but I actually enjoyed soccer more. I enjoyed the contact aspect of it. But,
really?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be a contact sport, but yeah.
Oh, God, it's contact.
Well, you were always a runner too. I mean, anytime the team went out and run, you were always pretty good at it. So I could definitely see that you enjoyed something like soccer, being able to keep running around like that. But now, so were you heavily recruited coming out of high school?
I don't feel like I was. I was recruited by 3 schools. I don't know if that's heavily recruited. I don't think so. And then there was junior college in Arizona that wanted me, a couple junior colleges, but no, I don't feel like that would be heavily recruited. Marshall and Moorhead and Ball State were the ones that were coming after me.
Okay. Now, do you happen to remember who was the first Marshall coach who contacted you?
Yes. Well, I don't know who contacted me. I don't know if Coach Pry, it was Natalie Pry. I don't know if she contacted me first, but she's the one that saw me in Texas. I don't know. I can't remember if Sean, like, I don't remember which coach called me first, but
Okay.
yes, Coach Pry's the one that saw me.
Okay. Now, had you heard of Marshall before your cousin Sierra Davenport had gone there?
No.
Being from the West, that's kind of understandable. You know, it seems like most people really haven't heard of this place unless you kind of remind them of the movie. And then, of course, for you, when you were coming out of high school, the movie hadn't been out yet. So,
Yeah.
I didn't have that to fall back on. But so was committing to Marshall kind of an easy sell for you because Sierra was there?
I think it helped. I enjoyed my visit to Ball State, but I think that they assumed that I was going to go to Marshall. They had called me and asked me if I enjoyed my visit. I went to Ball State first, and I said I really enjoyed my visit. And I was talking to them, and I had told them what they were going to offer, and they said they would call me back, and they didn't call back. And anyway, I think that they assumed. I told them my cousin was there, and so yeah. The Marshall and Moorhead, I didn't end up taking a visit there because I liked Marshall so much, and I just thought that it was a better fit for me, competitive wise and all that stuff. So I ended up not even going to Moorhead. So Marshall ended up being a good choice for me. I mean, I wasn't going to go to a junior college in Arizona over a Division I. So yeah.
Yeah. If you have that kind of chance, right?
Yes.
Now, what was your visit to Marshall like?
Lots of eating, lots of meeting people. The teammates, the girls that were there already seemed like they had a close bond. They were, coming in. I don't know, for my little bit of time, they were always together. They would party together, hang together while we were there. And I don't know if it helped. I had Sierra there too, so I don't know. I can only speak from my experience, but I felt included, and I don't know if that's because I had a cousin there. But the coaching staff was intelligent, knew that what they're talking about. They told me what they expected of me, what their expectations of me would be, and I don't know. I felt like I would have been able to make an impact right away, and I like that feeling. So.
Well, and they were about to lose Sarah Gullah because she was a senior in 2001. So they were obviously looking for somebody to be able to step into the circle. Now, how was your freshman adjustment period? Because some people keep talking about how they kind of go through that phase of, dear God, I think I want to go back home. Or, then you have others who's like, nah, I was actually okay. So how were you, especially since you had your cousin there and she had already been through the program for a year?
Yes, I was good. I missed, I made a decision based on softball and getting, full ride, so my parents wouldn't have to pay anything. And I was like, that's great. And so I went, the only thing that I struggled with was I made a decision not thinking about my parents not being able to watch me all the time. So that became harder as I, went through my years. But as far as being comfortable and being welcomed and feeling like home, but yeah, and I don't know, like if Sierra wasn't there, I don't know if I would have felt that way. But yeah, I felt great. Okay. I did have a hard time with my playing though, because I always played other positions. And so when I came on, they were going to play me at other positions, and then I just became a pitcher. That actually was the struggle. I struggled my freshman year with that.
Okay, well, what other positions did you play?
I played first base in the outfield. Well, towards the end of my playing into college, but
okay.
Yeah.
So that'll lead into something that I'll ask you a little bit later anyway. But so now, unfortunately, as you're coming up to your freshman season, and well, actually getting through the first couple weeks of your freshman season, unfortunately, tragedy strikes with the loss of Dana Black. Now, obviously, this was something very difficult to go through, and especially, your older teammates who had played with her, known her for a little while. And just talk about what you remember from that time and with the team following her death.
I just remember a lot of shock. It's it's weird to be with somebody who's sad. You think they're just sad. You don't, when you've never been around it. And now looking back, you realize it's a lot bigger than that. And I'm jumping the gun, but I think one positive about Dana is that she taught us all something. She taught us that sadness is something to actually be aware of, and it's real, and it's not something that just goes away for some people. And my sister actually went through Kelly, and without Dana, I would have taken Kelly lightly, and it wasn't a light situation. And so Dana was an awesome human, and she worked her bumper off to be where she was. And she talked about her family all the time. She loved her family. She loved her Meemaw Black. I can always remember talking about her Meemaw Black. And so I know her hurt was real. She wouldn't want to leave this earth. And for us teammates, it was so hard to lose somebody we're so close to. I mean, I was a freshman. I knew her first semester, and she touched my heart. And so, that's not that much time for somebody to just get up in there. And I felt a love for her big. And so I think the struggle for us, the big struggle was moving on. Was some people didn't want to practice, and some people didn't want to play. And and my big thing was Dana would have wanted us to play. She was one of the hardest workers. She loved the game. And so my big thing was to honor her, and we needed to do it for her. And she didn't want to be happy with people not showing up and being sad. And, so anyway, it took us a second. I can't remember the time frame. It was probably a couple weeks for people to finally start coming to practice regularly and, start pushing themselves for her. Because, everybody went through, I didn't find her. That's something that I don't even know how I would have responded if it might have taken me longer. And then you had people that were with her for 2 years. So that's a little different too, relationship. And maybe feeling guilty because maybe they knew things. Everybody was on their own spectrum. But I think in the end, we did a good job of coming together and doing it for her. But I remember the campus coming. We had flowers on the field and people just coming from all over. And I remember her dad and her brother coming to the memorial, and I thought that was pretty awesome, pretty special, because how hard for them. And they stood strong and they greeted us, and we were able to talk to them, and I thought that was pretty awesome of them.
I mean, I remember it. I was just a student there at the time. I had been calling games, for WMUL, so I wasn't working with the team yet, so I really didn't know everybody. But I remember seeing the flowers on the field, and obviously you all wearing the wristbands that had DB5 on it. So definitely remember, and I'm sure something very, very difficult to try and go through, to continue, like you said, to try and keep playing, through the rest of the year. I know you all didn't go to whatever that next tournament was going to be, because I think that was only going to be within a couple days of when it happened. But, then you all got rolling again. But so now let's go ahead and move on a little bit then past your freshman year. What was your first impression of the new class that was coming in there in the fall of 2002, that so many players, so many big personalities? You had the twins coming in, Lee, Spina, Noelle, Courtney, another girl from Arizona. What was your first impression of that group?
They were ready. They were loud. They wanted to prove to everybody that they were, we were going to be the team to beat. And, that's a different personality than me. I'm more of I'll show you. I'm not going to speak as much. I'm not going to, and so anyway, it was fun. They were rambunctious, but, I think it took them, college is a different game, and it's, and all of us are good. All of us were there for a reason. It's not, and so you're used to winning. Usually if you're in college, you're used to winning. And so I think I kept trying to tell them, we can't be cocky. We got to, and I think it's hard as a freshman coming in, especially with those big personalities. They expect to win. They're going to win. And so then when you start to lose, yeah. And so I think, to be honest, I think the freshman year for them was actually a good thing. I think it taught them, you're not always going to win. You can work hard, but this is, now everybody's as good as you. And so the sophomore year, I thought that they were, more ready and more aware of how to fight back. And, because when you start losing and you're not used to losing, it's hard mentally. But I loved all of them. And they brought a spunk to the team that was needed. So.
Well, I was about to ask you that. Do you think that, especially after, the unfortunate events from 2002, from that season, do you think that they were really kind of that shot in the arm of energy that this team needed?
Yeah. Yes, I think so.
Well,
yeah.
They definitely were some very lively personalities. I remember.
Still are.
Oh, yeah. I remember them all pretty well. But so, how do you think the mentality of the team changed really going into that 2003 season, especially, coming off the rough year in 2002 and then getting into 2003, and the MAC thought you guys weren't going to do anything.
Mm-hmm. I think such a core people that aren't used to losing, they were out to prove it. I mean, you can't fight that. I mean, we were all friends. We were all, getting along, and we believed in coach and the coaching staff, and that means a lot too. And it's tough to beat a team that's hungry and ready to prove that they didn't do anything that they were supposed to do the year before. And so, we had a lot going for us. So,
what's it like to step out there in the circle with basically surrounded from freshmen? The entire infield is starting freshmen. Your center fielders is a freshman. I mean, you got all newbies around you. How is that?
And you spend the whole fall semester with them. I don't even think of them as freshmen. They do their job. I feel confident with them behind me, and I'm ready to go. It's kind of funny how when they come in they're freshmen, you're like, oh yeah, they're freshmen. But by the time the spring hits, they're just your teammates that are back there. I felt confident every time I took the mound. So.
Well, and they definitely had confidence. I'm sure if there was any nervousness, they were kind of able to hide that down low, keep that inside a little bit. But so now, what were your memories from that sophomore year? Because you had a huge increase in wins. You go from 5 to 23. The team is just off and rolling. You're dominating in the MAC. I mean, what were your memories of that year?
Fun. I'm trying to think back of, that's what I was telling you. I'm like, oh gosh, my memory bank. There's girls on the team who could probably tell you every single detail of everything.
Well, I already talked to 2 of them with the twins, so.
Okay. Well, there you go. And I'm going to be after them. That's great. I just remember it being fun. I'm trying to think, they all blend together. So,
winning is one of those kind of cure-all type of things. If you keep winning, everything's fun. Practice is fun. Road trips are fun. Obviously, the games are fun. So,
yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any.
How about this, though? What were your emotions like when the team secured that #1 spot going into the MAC tournament there in the regular season, especially after the conference had picked you all so low in the preseason polls?
I was excited. My goal since I got to Marshall, which sometimes I'd get laughed at, and I can remember Coach Stanton, I think I was a freshman, and we were going over our goals, and I said to win regionals, and I got laughed at, and I said, well, we better get there. And they kind of smirked again. And she was like, no, that's a legitimate goal. And that was always my goal. And that's why people talk about, softball. And it's weird because I'm 38 years old now. And I'll still say that I didn't achieve what I wanted us to achieve. And they were like, what? So anyway, so I was excited because I felt like it was our opportunity to do what we were supposed to do because our team was good enough. Our teams, all my 4 years were good enough. And so I was pumped. We were on a roll. We were hot. And so I thought it was going to be our year.
How did you feel when you were named MAC Pitcher of the Year?
Yeah. I'm one of those people. I don't hold the strikeout record. So people obviously hit the ball. And for me to get MAC Pitcher of the Year means my teammates were behind me and doing their job. And so, I mean, it's awesome and it's an honor, but I feel like it's a team award, even though it's given to an individual. I mean, if I held a strikeout record or something, nobody's reaching base, that would be something different. I would say thank you, but yes, my teammates did the work. And so, yes, as it is an honor and I'm privileged, I feel like it's their award too.
Well, you obviously helped out because pitchers can make it easier with the easy ground balls or the pop flies. And then
we're hitting it over the fence. That's good.
Yeah. Well, and then what I was talking about earlier with wanting to know the other positions that you played, you clearly took pride in being able to field your position. Did you ever like when people would keep talking about, oh, hit it to the pitcher because she can't field, she can't throw, things like that? Because I always definitely remember when you were in the circle, there was no worries about if the ball was hit to you, whether or not you could get it to first or any other base that it had to go to.
Yeah. I mean, I always played another position my whole life. So, and I feel like that helps. I feel like there are pitchers who, it's crazy because in travel ball, or even growing up, I've never played a pitcher who couldn't throw it to first. And in college, there would be pitchers who would just, they'd get it and they couldn't throw. They would do this and then fly over. I'm like, what in the, but it's crazy. And I guarantee they were probably just a pitcher growing up. And I'm thankful that I was able to always be a utility player along with being a pitcher growing up, because it helps you know the game. It helps you know where to go. It helps you know what they're going through. Because when you know where every position needs to go, it helps you with your own position. And so, yeah, I know that's my ball. Get out of my way.
Well, and that's another one that I remember because I don't know how many times in practice, even though you'd make that throw to first, how many times Coach Stanton would get on Lee Winter about, you cannot let the pitcher beat you to the ball. And you kind of have this look of like, no, that's I don't care.
There's positions on this field. And I get her point. Now looking back, I get her point, but being out there, no. Look out, Lee.
Well, and you were a competitor. Your feet were quick. You were quick out of your, finishing from pitching and all that to be able to get the ball and all that. And I was looking through the numbers yesterday. As far as somebody who spent their entire career at Marshall as a pitcher, you're either first or second in the amount of assists that you had. You had 175 assists during your 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, and your error numbers, very low. So obviously you were very capable of being able to go field your position and help out. So there you go.
There you go.
But now, unfortunately, a heartbreaking end to the season. And what were your emotions? Because you talked about how your goal was to get to regionals and not just get there, but win it. Now you have this team that has 41 wins, and yes, you didn't make it to the MAC championship game, but still 41 wins. You were the number 1 seed, and then you don't even get in that large bid.
Yeah. So when we lost, obviously heartbroken, but still had that hope that, and in the back of my mind, I was also, I was also thinking we may not, because we are Marshall and we haven't been there. And so when you're going in your RPI, and when you're going for an at-large bid, it helps if you've been there and you're a bigger, Division I team. So I was kind of thinking it was a slim shot, but still there was hope. And when it didn't happen, that was a crush. But we pretty much had the same team coming on, and I'm like, it's okay. We're going to get it next year. It stinks. It's sad, but we're going to get it next year.
So now what about that 2004 season? You all are picked to finish first, and then unfortunately don't even make it to the MAC tournament. It just seemed like there were moments where things just kind of kept slipping away.
Yeah. And, that season to me is actually kind of a blur. I remember wanting it so bad for Sierra in the senior class to go out. And again, the fact that we should be there, we're good. And so it's not like we've lost half our team and we're rebuilding, we're good. And so I remember struggling, but I don't remember I feel like that season more than any others, kind of I don't know. And I just remember just being very unhappy that we couldn't get it for them. After all they'd been through, and with Dana, with everything, and we couldn't do it for them.
And so how did that feel to watch your cousin step off the field for the last time and it not being in the postseason?
It was sad. It's sad. You want to be able to do it like with your team, and it is what it is. But it was sad to watch her go out like that, and the rest of the senior class. I mean, Deshaun and Chamberlain and Allie. Like, am I missing Wilson? Like, who else am I missing in the senior class?
Well, Deshaun would have actually been in two.
Deshaun was the year before. Yeah.
But no, you ended up naming them. You got Sierra, Chamberlain, Wilson. Okay. So you got them all. And then Allison Webb, she was supposed to be back in 05, but she didn't have her last year in 04. But, so how about your senior year then? You are now the only senior on the team.
And how did that happen? Sometimes I think, was it me? Because I came in, I think there were five of us. There were five of us.
I looked at it.
Yeah, there were five of us.
There were actually only 3 freshmen that made it to the 2002 season.
Yes, because there was that's right. And then they kept dropping off. But I think there was 5 of us that came in.
Well, Deshaun would have come in with that class, except she was a JUCO transfer. And I did find an article, I can't remember her name, somebody who had signed, but then I can't find anything else of her later.
There was a Jessica. I think she made it through fall ball and stopped. And there was Brianne Lewis.
Yeah.
And there was Aaron Peterson and Missy Workman. Yeah, there were 5 freshmen.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. I was like, I think it might be me. I don't know.
Well, how was it being the only senior? Because especially too, you talked about how you weren't that vocal leader. It was more of just kind of watch me. A lot of times coaches like to have those upperclassmen not just be the watch me, but you also be to tell and to talk and to tell, really direct everybody. So how was that for you?
And again, I had the juniors who were loud and boisterous.
They were now fired up.
Okay. So they kind of took those reins for me. I just remember I put everything on my shoulders, and my whole life. And I never really realized it until my senior year. It wore me out. Like I was wanting this so bad for them before I went out, because I wanted to give it to I wanted to be a part of it for them. I wanted to work for it. And in all 3 years, I've missed it. I haven't been able to give my teammates what my goal was. And anyway, and so I just, when I look back, nothing was ever good enough. I could have a no-hitter, and I felt like it was lucky because this girl smoked a ball and it happened to be right to our teammate. And nothing was good enough. I could never say, that was a great game, Randy. No, I was always nitpicking myself. And so being the only senior and having all that on my shoulders, I mean, I did to myself, but I started to struggle a little bit mentally. I can remember my dad, I would cry to them, and they try and talk me. They're like, Randy, you're okay, and I'm like, no, should be better. And I remember my dad surprising me in Virginia Tech. I don't know if you remember this, but we drove up to the hotel, and somebody came into, I don't know if we were in a van. I think we were in a van. I don't know. They came up and they're like, hey, Randy, is your dad here? I'm like, what? And they're like, well, there's a Pete Nielson on the hotel. I'm like, what? No, he's not here. So then I started to freak out. Well, he wasn't. And I kept telling the front desk, they're like, no, he's not here. I'm like, what is happening? So I called Mom, and I was crying. I was like, somebody said Dad's here. And she goes, oh, fine. I'm going to tell you, Randy. It's just supposed to be a surprise. So, but then he didn't make the game that morning. And I remember freaking out. And so Shonda and I came back to the field. We left lunch at the restaurant and came back to the field. And there's my dad up in the stands, because he has no cell. He's thinking he's fine because it's a surprise. So he ended up missing the game, but he's like, well, no big deal. Randy doesn't even know I'm here. So he's just up there with his little scouting thing. But he did that because I was so crazy. I mean, here's your sign. But my senior year, I could have been better for my teammates. If I wouldn't have put all that pressure, because they didn't have that on me. That, they were out there trying to probably win it for me, and I didn't need all that on my shoulders. But yeah, so I think if there's another senior, and actually I don't even know, because it was my senior year, so maybe I would have done that no matter how many people were in my class. I might have tried to carry the load. Who knows?
I could see that, honestly.
Yeah.
You're still doing that.
Yeah. I've got problems.
Well, sometimes obviously wanting to be that person to try and help carry is not necessarily a bad thing, but as you say, it can wear on you a little bit. And I want to get to maybe a couple of your other memories later, because actually I really definitely remember you all, whenever we try to give you a compliment about something, you could never take it. So
still Scott. Still that way.
Still that way? Well, I'm going to bring up a couple of that here in just a little bit. But so now, what do you remember from the MAC tournament there, your senior year? Because, again, you all got that #1 seed. You kind of tore through the regular season. You get there. You have this absolutely wild game against Western Michigan that made no sense whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And you get to the championship game, but unfortunately it just kind of it just wasn't there.
Yeah. I have a regret because, in hindsight, 2020, whatever, but they rode me and I was the horse, and I'm sad that I didn't get the ball for the championship game. Do I believe in Abby? Absolutely. But I still, this is my game. I remember telling Coach Merv when I left, I was like, I could have pitched with a broken arm and won that game. And she's like, okay. But that's how much, when you take all that emotion and yeah. But at the same time, I can vividly remember, Abby, because, Coach Merv had asked, are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. And then she asked, Abby, are you ready? Like, this is how she did the whole tournament. This is what she did. And anyway, and then I remember Abby getting the ball, and Coach Stan had said, I didn't even know that you weren't pitching, because you had to take the lineup up to the press box. And she said, then she saw Abby's name. So she said she was shocked too. But when we got out there, I remember Abby looking like, oh gosh, I can remember her face, and I can remember the twins being surprised. I can remember their faces, and then they switched it, which they should. They switched it, and they said, it doesn't matter who's on the mound. We got this. And I believe that too. But I still, it's your senior and your horse. I still, to this day, I'm like, I should have had the ball. It should have been my way. Should have been my loss or my win. It should have carried with me. And, Abby did well. I think her getting the ball over a senior got Abby. I think Abby would have come out there herself. I don't think she was herself. I think she was nervous because she had that on her, watching her teammate, we were buddies, and a senior, and she got the ball in front of me. And I think that I can remember her face, and I feel bad because, part of me thinks that maybe I'm sure I was pissed. I was mad. And so I think, seeing that, I think I could have been a better teammate and said, Abby, you got this, and encouraged her to go out there. And I think that would have helped her. I think her nerves were in her, and that's not helpful when you're in a championship game, biggest game of her life so far, and so I think that I could have been a better leader and got over myself. Decision was made, and encouraged her. And I feel bad that I was being selfish, really, is what I was being. And, and I think that really that's why the team, I'm glad they turned it. They turned it right away and said, we got this. It doesn't matter who's out there. But I don't think it helped Abby. I think Abby needed to hear it from me. And I didn't give that to her. So it makes me sad. But
lessons learned. I mean, I've already talked to Abby, and she kind of talked about the same thing, how there were things that happened to her throughout her collegiate playing career that ended up being lessons learned, that now as she's a coach, she can be able to come forward, be able to tell her team, as far as this is why we're doing this. Okay, don't let this get to you, those sort of things, because she went through that herself as well, and being able to sit back and kind of go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have been more like this, So, but now, so your MUSB playing days come to a close, but you move on to Holland. Now, what was that experience like for you?
That was awesome. I mean, no better way to hang up your cleats. It's professional, but I don't know how to explain it because I don't really know how it is anywhere else, but it's girls that live there, and then they bring on an American, and I stayed with my host family who are awesome, such awesome people. And, but it wasn't, I'd say it was probably like a step down from the MAC, I mean, they had good players, but it just, and even the feeling, the vibe was more relaxed, even though, and so it was awesome. And I got to coach the lower division girls. And so that was fun. But it just a really, even though it was competitive, really relaxing way to say, okay, I'm good now, and put the crazy behind me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about culture shocks here, though. You go, okay, how was it going from Arizona to West Virginia?
I would hear people talk about, being in Arizona, I'd hear people talk about how the weather could change your mood. And I'm like, well, you guys are crazy. I don't even know what that means, because the sun's always shining in Arizona. We love rain. Like, we welcome it. And so then I got to Huntington. I was like, good grief. Does the sun ever shine here? My hair went from blonde to brown. But I'd say that was the biggest difference for me, is just a lot of cloudy days and more rain than I'm used to. And I realized, weather does have something to do with your mood. But other than that, I mean, everybody, well, I take that back, because everywhere I've lived, I feel like people are really nice. I find people are nice in Tucson and in Arizona, and I found people were just a touch nicer in Huntington, just a little bit more welcoming, whatever, and so on. Like, even in Auburn, I'm like, good grief, are these people fake? I just met you, and they're inviting in for a family party, and this is real life. Like, but no, that's just how they are, and it's so, and each culture has their own. So I'd say that too. People were just a touch nicer in Huntington, a little bit more welcoming. But other than that, I mean, I don't know, I have trees, greenery, grass.
How about going through the
falls, beautiful falls?
Well, and how about going through the 4 seasons for the first time?
4 seasons, yeah. Snow when I didn't have a winter coat. So I would have like 7 layers on going to class, and I would be slipping everywhere because I didn't have boots. And so I'd make it to class, though, and there'd be a pile next to my chair because obviously it's hot in the classroom. And, I'm like, this is embarrassing. Could I just get a winter coat? And I'll layer back up when I leave. But yeah, I mean, having the seasons. Now, humidity was a change too. I'm not used to humidity. And you know what? Changing your clocks. Daylight savings. We don't have daylight savings in Arizona. That was scary for me. I'm like, oh gosh, did I do it right? Am I going to wake up? Am I, and they're like, Randi, reset. Yeah. I'm like, oh gosh, okay. I just want to make sure I have the right time. I don't know. Made me nervous, but it was fun though. I'm glad, I'm sad that my parents and my family weren't able to watch me in Sierra a lot, but I'm glad. I feel like it helps you grow up when you move away and become independent. And
well, then another culture shock. How was it going from even just America to Holland?
That was culture shock. Apparently I looked Dutch though, so people would just welcome me in and start speaking Dutch to me. But yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was, but in a good way, They have lots of little markets. And so you go to the markets to shop, and you ride your bike a lot in places, and, obviously language and whatever else. But I love Holland. Holland was fun. Yeah.
Well, good. Now, okay. So now let's jump ahead a little bit. It's now the summer of 2008, and Marshall's looking for a new pitching coach. How did that conversation come up as far as bringing you back to Huntington?
If I remember correctly, which Shonda might tell me different, I think, I was watching her kids. I was in the master's program. I was doing my MBA, and I was watching Shayla and Gianna. And I think one day she just came into the house and mentioned that she would like to know if I would want to be a pitching coach. And I thought she was kidding. Anyway, she's like, no, I'm being serious. And I said, no, I really think you're kidding. Anyway, so I think she brought it up again another time. Quickly thereafter. And so then I realized she was serious. And so then, and I remember having a conversation with my parents because I was supposed to be coming home. I was supposed to be coming to Tucson after my MBA. And so, and Kelly was there. And so I remember mom being very nervous. She was like, I've made it this far without you finding, a boyfriend to, be serious with. She's like, I fear that this is going to, which she ended up being right. But Kelly, I remember it being a hard decision too, because Kelly was on the team. And I think it was already hard for Kelly to come into, because she was being looked at, highly recruited by Oklahoma State too. And I remember that being a very hard decision for her. And I think she made the decision to Marshall too, because she was comfortable and she knew coach, she knew her program. And I just didn't want to mess it up for her. She came already into my environment. You're Randy's little sister. And I already felt bad for her for that. And so anyway, I remember asking her, she's like, yeah, it's fine. Well, I don't think it was fine at the beginning when I first got there. I think she struggled a little bit. But then she was fine. But tough decision because have your little sister on the team. In college, it's a little different. But yeah, I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Well, now how was it to play for Coach Stanton?
I enjoyed it. She's a competitor. She's feisty. She's hard on you. There's times where, obviously, like, come on, coach. But I'm very thankful. And she had a way now realizing it. And like when you're in it, that's the only thing I didn't go to other universities, so I didn't play softball anywhere else. But now being out of it and meeting people who have been to other schools, or even one of my best friends growing up, at her school, she didn't have a good experience either. And, I think she did a very good job. I don't think she gets enough credit for our camaraderie with each other. I think you need a leader for that. And, we're girls. Girls have drama. And I think she did a very good job of holding us together without us even realizing it.
Well, then how was it then to make the switch now to coach with her?
What was difficult is I don't think I know. She hired me. She liked how crazy I was with myself. And she wanted me to bring that out in the other pitchers that I was coaching. And I think I failed her. Because what she liked in me, I don't like in me. I want people to be, positive with themselves and be, look at themselves and say, I did a good job. Whereas I'm not capable of doing that. And, I didn't want them to be crazy. And she wanted me to bring that out in them. And I know that's a natural thing. Like they can't be crazy if they're not crazy. But I think that's what she hired me to do, was bring out that feistiness and find what ticked and made them feisty. And I think I failed. We had good pitchers, and I think that's what she hired me to do. And
Did you at least still enjoy your experience coaching?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. And our players were all awesome. And I wish I could, but I do wish I could get those 2 years back, because I feel like being out of it and coming back in, I could have done a better job with our pitchers.
All right. Well, time for a few more memories. Let's see what we might be able to pull out here a little bit. Now, do you remember because like I said, I remember being around you when you were a player, and you always seem to remember the bad things. Do you remember from from 2003? You had a no-hitter going against Akron, but a certain player ended it in the 7th inning who became a coach for you later on. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes. And now you've stumped me though.
Tracy.
Tracy, thank you. God bless. I'm like, yes. Tracy, shortstop. Yes, she hit it to left field.
Did you all ever talk about that once she came to Marshall?
You know, I think we did. Right at the beginning. Yes. Yes. I'm pretty sure we did. But yeah, I remember base hit to left field. Yeah.
Somehow I figured you would remember that one. Even though you say you don't remember, somehow I felt like that one would probably come up.
Yeah, yeah, you have a thing. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't want the pictures to be like me because, yeah, there are some bright spots that I remember, but they would be about other people probably.
Well, and see, okay, so I have another one from when we were in Chattanooga at the Frost Classic, and this would have been 2004. And the day before, we had played Alabama, ranked number 9 in the country. Mm-hmm. We ended up losing 6-0. But the next day, playing against Wisconsin, I'm sitting out in the outfield filming. And Patrick Murphy, the head coach of Alabama, actually comes out and asks me about you. He wanted to know where we got you from because he was so impressed with you. And I remember trying to tell you this as we got on the bus leaving, and you just kept looking at me going, but we lost. I tell you, but Randy, he was impressed with you. And you kept going, but we lost. Like, what was he impressed with? But we lost. You know, we lost. They hit a home run off me. We lost. And Stanton's going, Randy, just take the compliment.
Like, oh, I can remember Joe being really frustrated with me too. Oh, thank you. It's hard. I don't know why it's hard. It's hard.
Well, but I feel like that also helped make you that competitor that you were, because there were some games and obviously tough situations that the team needed somebody like you in the circle to kind of like calm everybody down and say, no, let's get this. We've got it, whatever it was. And like you said, just follow me, and you would keep going through it. And, you know, sometimes it may come out bad in other situations, but at the same time, I think that was something that did help you in the circle.
Thanks, Scott.
I don't know if you agree. I don't know if you agree.
It might have aged me a little bit too, but it's fine. It's all good.
All right. Now, do you have kind of any crazy stories about your old teammates? Appropriate ones, obviously. Just things that you remember, you know, that you look back on, whether you're just by yourself and you think about it, or when you're talking with your old teammates and you guys talk about this stuff and it still makes you smile and laugh.
Well, one that makes me laugh, it probably doesn't make her laugh, but Lee, I can remember Lee, we were playing UCF, and I can't remember who hit it. But anyway, girl hit a shot at Lee. I pitched a fatty, and she hit a shot at Lee and hit Lee in the thigh. And I have a mentality, I don't like to show pain. They don't hit it hard enough to hurt me. Like, you know, so like, well, it came out in me at her. I was like, get the ball, throw her out. You know, so anyway, so she throws her out, and Lee's limping to the circle. And I'm like, don't show pain. They don't hit it hard enough to hurt you, right? I'm like, nah. Like, and she gets in the circle, and she's like, well, there's an explicit there, so but she's like, it hurts, you know? And so anyway, well, we get in the dugout, and she walked over to me, and she was like, if you ever try and tell me that something doesn't hurt. And I was like, and it made me come back to myself, because I was like, oh gosh, like it came out of me, because that's how I respond. Like, I don't limp because you didn't hit it hard enough. Should I try again next time, you know? But Lee, and then that thing, I mean, her whole thigh was bruised. But I remember that vividly, because she was like, oh, I mean, woo, she was hot. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember other. Oh, I don't know. I just remember a lot. I mean, you said appropriate, so, but I just remember a lot of times in the locker room, to be honest. We always had a lot of fun. And I can remember my freshman year. I mean, things went on in there that I was like, oh, B-Dog would know what I'm talking about. B-Dog she was intimidating. She was like, was this little freshman, where am I? But yeah, I'm trying to think. There probably are so many, and it's sad. It is really sad. See, I'll have to listen to the twins. And twins have a lot.
Well, we ended up having to. They talked so much about details and things like that. So
Didn't even get to the question.
I sometimes you got to kind of maybe limit. Okay, I don't want these to be 5 to 10 minute interviews, but at the same time, when you're approaching
At an hour,
you kind of go, I need to cut some things out.
Well, you know what I do remember, and I remember being at a hotel. Where were we? When Joe, I think you were on staff. When we were at the hotel, and Joe went into the wrong room.
No, I was not with the team yet, but I remember hearing that story so many times.
Was that my freshman year then? Sophomore?
I want to say it was probably your freshman year, maybe.
Okay. Because you were here my sophomore, right?
Well, I traveled with
Still doing radio.
Ohio State and to the MAC tournament. And at the MAC tournament was the first time I heard that story of going into the wrong room, finding things that
didn't belong.
Especially when he thinks he's walking into player's room.
Yeah, he was trying to find Sierra's hippo on her bed.
Yeah, and instead he walks in, finds some dirty stuff. There's a camera across the room that I'm pretty sure he said he thinks it was on. And then he said somebody somewhere has a video of him just absolutely freaking out.
He's part of it now.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'd say one of my most fun memories, I loved when we would lay the tarp down and we'd slip and slide when it was raining. It was my favorite. And my most favorite was when we were in the tournament. Do you remember that? You were there. That was my senior year.
Yes.
And it was just a downpour. And my most favorite thing about it was, so we were, being crazy and slip and sliding, and gradually the team, more of my teammates would come out. And I would just look at the other team, and I forget which team it was, but they were just sitting there in the dugout, lined up, right? And all of a sudden, and I get it, because as a coach, you're like, no, we're in the tournament. Like, that's how, as a coach, I would probably be. But I'm the player, so I'm like, the coach being like, no, we're in the tournament. We need to be serious. This is ridiculous. Like, but then all of a sudden, they all started to come on. So here we had the two teams who were supposed to be competing against each other, slip and slide and have a great time. I mean, it's something so small, but that was one of my favorite things too.
I'm trying to remember if it was Central Michigan, because I feel
like it might be, because I feel like I remember red.
Well, that's Miami, and that's who we played in the championship. So what I'm trying to remember, because I know we had to play Central Michigan again because of the
had red, right? Or maroon, right? Weren't they like a maroon?
Central Michigan's kind of more of like a yellowish.
Yellow.
Yeah. So it was either them or we had just beaten Central Michigan, and now we were supposed to play Miami for the championship, and the downpour happened, and we had to wait on Miami. But unfortunately, I definitely remember.
No, I think we had to finish the game. Didn't we have to finish the game the next day? Right? No, am I making that up? I feel like we did, right?
It was either finish it or we never got to play it, and then we had to play it.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, unfortunately, that one's kind of slipped from my memory, too. I can't
believe that, Scott. I can't believe that.
Well,
I stumped you.
I've been around so long. I mean, there's so many games.
Oh, but you still do a good job.
Well, I would have to say part of that is my job. With being sports info and broadcasting and stuff, you're supposed to try and remember some of these things. And if you don't remember, you know where to look it up. And that is a thing. I think I know where I can try and go look it up at least to figure.
Oh gosh, Scott.
Yeah, and now you've got me. I'm going to have to go look at Central Michigan or Miami that we were waiting on there. But no, I definitely remember tarp sliding, because I remember too. Oh, I did. Yeah. After I got after Ryan Epling and I got the radio equipment covered up and knew it was fine, and I had gone out there and I had helped put down some of the weights for the tarp, I was like, forget this. I don't care. I was out there too. So,
but it was so cool, because like for them to come out with you're in a championship setting, and that they're like, no, because I can remember them. We're sliding, and I can remember looking over there. I'm like, those poor girls, because they're just lined up, sitting there, just watching us have fun. And then they eventually, one by one, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it shows that despite, obviously, like you said, the atmosphere there, that you're trying
to let this a little bit.
All this, you can still come out and have some fun together. Because look, I mean, obviously, you're not going to play with all that rain that was coming down.
No.
And I felt like Akron could get some of the just most bizarre thunderstorms while we were out there. I remember another one in 04. No, it wouldn't have been 04. So no, this would have been 05, because I think this might have been another time in 05. We had another one possibly get interrupted because, I mean, it looked like the gates of hell had opened up, because Twist and I had helped put down weights on the tarp. It might have even been us. I think coming from practice from there. I don't think we were playing yet. So we helped get the tarp down. We got the weights down, and we exit the stadium to try and get to the bus parking lot. And the sky is black. The trees are almost laying over to the side. I mean, one bus, I remember seeing somebody struggling trying to get the door shut on their bus. I mean, Akron knew how to just dump on us when we were there for the MAC tournament.
I'll take the rain, though, over the snow and the...
And you did get to play in the snow a couple times, so I remember that as well. Well, and including one time even down in Alabama. That might have been 06. You might not have been there for that one, but I do remember one time we were down in Alabama for a tournament and the snow was coming down, and I looked at the players. I said, "This is why we go south, right? This is why we go south to play. We've got it's 35 degrees and we've got snow coming down. This is wonderful." But so, Randy, finally, is there anything else that you would like to just share with anybody who may watch this, whether it's another part of your journey that we didn't talk about, or just kind of anything else that you'd like to share?
Just that, I'm thankful for the 4 years and all the friendships and my teammates, my coaches and staff. Thank you, Scott. It was awesome. And I wish, I tell people all the time, it goes so fast. And, when you're in it, and people probably told me that, I don't know, because when you're in it, it's hard to listen. You're like, okay. But I thoroughly enjoyed all my time. And I love that you continue to do things that bring everybody back. No, seriously, you don't have to do what you do. And it's awesome. And I can't wait to go back. I still haven't looked at the dugout. I'm glad that I'm glad you told me. So now I can, but I can't wait to go back and watch everybody's and listen. And, it's fun. And yeah, like I just texted Abby. I listened to Abby's. That's the only one I listened to the couple days ago, but I sent her a text and it was just like, it made me tear up, because I was like, I enjoyed being your teammate so much too. And it's awesome, because I feel like it gets the program out there, and Marshall's already making strides for themselves. I'm excited for the new coaching staff and the players. They're killing it over there.
They're hammering it. They're definitely giving me a lot more things to try to remember. I'll tell you that.
Seriously. And it's awesome to see. And I feel like things that you're doing like this helps build, because I'll tell you, I went to this one girl that I know here, her daughter, it was her 16th birthday, and Harper likes her. And so we sent a little goodie over there. Well, she happened to be home. The mom happened to be home. And I was talking to her, she had an interview for her job yesterday morning. And she's like, I was so nervous. I'm just glad it's over. It was only a promotion. It's nothing big. And I'm still so nervous. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to listen to this one. I'm like, I have to do this interview. And I'm like, I'm so nervous. And it's Scott, who I know. And it's not a promotion. It's just me talking about my memories. She starts laughing. And she goes, okay, this is going to sound really weird. And I don't want you to take it weird. But for your birthday, when I sent you a post, I saw that somebody else had posted. And it was one of your old teammates. And she's in Kennesaw or whatever. And I said, oh, I have 3 teammates around that area, whatever. And she's like, yeah, but she gives lessons. And I said, well, there's 3 of them, because I'm pretty sure Lee gives lessons too. Maybe she coaches. I don't know. But anyway, so I said there's 3 of them. So I don't know which one she was talking about. But she said, well, she goes, is it the Dugout series? And I was like, this is crazy. Here's this lady who and I said, it is. It's the Dugout series. She goes, well, I know I sound like a stalker, but I listened to the one, and I don't know who she listened to. She said she thought it was a pitcher and dark hair. So have you done, I don't know who, because I haven't seen him.
Okay.
I don't know.
Here's who I have put out. I started with Coach Louie Burnt, because I figured start with her. She's the one who started the program.
Cool. Yeah.
I talked to Christy Waring. I might have to go back and look at my list here just a second.
You're fine. She thought it was a picture with dark hair, and she said she listened to it all the way through. I was But it was so random. It was so random. Here's this person, and I happened to just say how I'm embarrassed about doing, and I was like, holy crap. So people are listening. And I think it's cool. Like, she made me think, I'm like, golly, Scott's doing something so awesome, because people who aren't even part of Marshall are watching it. Even they watch a little blurb. I mean, they see that there's something special. I mean, you're taking the time to do this. There's something special. And that it's super cool.
Well, I've always been wanting to try and help tell the story of this program, especially once I got this job as sports info and also getting to do the broadcasting. And, there's only so far you can really go with doing some of the videos. And obviously, hindsight being 2020, if I knew I was still going to be here all this time, I would have done a much better job of hanging on to the video clips from when you all played.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to put out some of the video clips from back then, but
you need my DVDs?
Well, no, I still have the highlight videos, but I'm talking about really because seriously, over the last several years, I have been saving pretty much everything. I have every clip that you can almost want. So, but I figured what better way to really try and help tell the story of the program than to have you all who lived through it.
Yeah.
Tell your memories, your great times, even your bad times, things like that, and really have you all talk about what you went through with this program, because I mean it is such a special program. And so many players have talked about the family atmosphere, even the new players talking about family atmosphere. And it really started from way back in the beginning, hearing the stories from Louis Burnt, from Christy Waring, from Jeannie Noble, Carrie Hinkle, who I'll have her coming out soon, Natasha Johnson. So a lot of people from the beginning talking about it, and then obviously getting into Shonda Stanton. I haven't talked to her yet because I figured I'll let Indiana finish their 20-hour weeks first. So I have to contact her. I don't know if they're done yet. But obviously having her players talk about it, and you played for her, you also coached with her. So, I really wanted to be able to get these stories out, and that's great that other people are tuning in.
Random.
That's great.
It was very random. But yeah.
Well, hopefully your friend will watch this one, so you should be able to get a few laughs out of it.
Yeah, she might become a Dugout series. That might be part of her little club that she does. And get people together. And I mean, she knew what it was called. I was like, yeah, I think that's what it is. Dugout series.
The MUSB Dugout.
There she goes.
I'm doing it. So, all right. Well, Randy, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Scott.
Great.
Appreciation on this end, for sure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Randi Nielson, one of the very best pitchers in Marshall softball history, 61 victories, and really helping to further the success of the Marshall softball program, and will hopefully find her rightful place one day in the Marshall Athletics Hall of Fame. Again, Randi, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.